Hey, all you wanderlusters and hometown heroes. This is Remain, Roam, Return, a podcast that pits your hometown lifestyle against the allure of far-off frontiers. In the show, we are going to try to settle the age-old debate on whether it is better to be the local legend or the one that got away.
And we are your host. I am Christian.
And I am Damien.
And together, we are going to spend each episode trying to discover which lifestyle truly is best. Is it better to stay close to the roots that raised you, or to fly away into the unknown?
Yep, and during these conversations, we will be discussing personal experiences and asking guests for their input to decide once and for all whether it is better to remain, roam, or return. Oh, welcome back. Welcome back.
Or welcome in general. We got to start remembering,
Triple R. You're a hoe, Christian. All right. That's my new theme song for the podcast.
Oh, man.
I know we've always talked about actually getting a, not the royalty-free song and maybe writing one, but then me and Damien are like, oh, we're both failed musicians at some point.
Yeah.
And that's why we do a podcast.
We have music queued up for when we launch ours, but we wrote it ourselves. So
see, there you go. But you guys are actually talented, unlike Christian and I.
No.
We in our own heads we are,
Yeah.
It's don't you know how important I think I am?
Right? Don't you understand I'm the most important person in this podcast studio right now? Don't you get it? Well, without further ado, let me go ahead and just start this off. Welcome back to the Remain, Roam, Return podcast, everybody. I am Damien. With me, as always, is Christian, the hoe.
Hello.
And with us today, we have Michael Box of Cincinnati, Dayton, Ohio. I see it. I always see it both ways, so I may as well toss them both in there.
We're so close between the two. It's about 30 minutes to each. So I just say that, we're in the Cincinnati Dayton corridor.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. So
there you go.
So yeah, hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for coming on.
Michael is a man of many talents, as you heard in the intro, the cold open, as Christian wants to now call it. Moving
I'm going to
forward.
call it that. Yeah.
He is a musician of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
He is the president and co-founder of an indie film company.
Yeah, we don't use labels like president. I actually had somebody else say that once before. Patrick Haig and I are both co-founders.
Co-founder.
Yeah, I'm a producer. He's a producer director. We're both screenwriters. But president sounds so official, and we're so indie. It's just the two of us, and then we have two other producers. So it sounds so official when you say president. I'm like,
well, then let me go ahead and change my shirt because I dressed up. I saw
you put on a collar.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw your credits and was like, ooh, let me get spiffed up a little bit here.
So when me and Damien, we have an LLC for this because we're worried about anything we say on here, and so we want to have an LLC.
Right.
But you have to mark down one person as a president and one person as a CEO. Yeah. I don't remember who I marked down for either of them.
For tax liability purposes, I think I took that on.
Yeah.
So I think that we're listed in that way that I'm the president, but that's such a weird. I'm not down with that.
A true man of the people. I love it.
Yes. And my anarchist, anti-capitalistic perspective is to be against the corporate overlords. So
there you go.
So I don't. It's not that I am against the title in general, but it just seems weird when it's just really just two of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll refrain from using corporate jargon in this episode too. But anyways, so welcome to the show, man. As we stated, it is you are the co-founder of a film company, and I kind of wanted to start with that, if that's okay. Can you introduce that? What kind of what's your mission statement? Kind of what are you guys working on?
Yeah, I am co-founder of EchoEterna Productions here in the Dayton, Cincinnati area. We wrote and produced our first feature film about 10 years ago. It was called A Savior Come My Way. And it was a time travel sci-fi drama that we funded ourselves. We shot on 16 millimeter film.
Nice.
We had professional crew, lighting, cinematographer, all that. But what we didn't realize was that when you get friends and friends of friends to volunteer as actors, you're going to get what you pay for. And bless their hearts, we love them, and they did the best that they could. But in the editing process, we realized that there were a lot of challenges that we were not prepared for. So everything looked great. Our trailer that we cut looks incredible, but the film itself, we had to pare down quite a bit. And instead of being a hour and a half feature that we had hoped for, we got about a 20-minute short. Which, you know, we're still proud of. And we kind of look at it as our film school. Neither of us went to film school. It was our film school. We learned a lot. It was our, if you were doing a senior film school project, your student film, then that's what that was for us. It hasn't been shown to a whole lot of people, mostly people we really trust. But the trailer's available, and I'm proud of it, and I've shown that to quite a few people. But
is that available on YouTube for people to look at?
Yeah, it's unlisted right now, but I can give you guys the link, and you can add that to the show notes if you want.
That'd be awesome. I'd love to look at that.
But in the process, we realized that the next project we needed it to be fully funded so that we can pay for actors and cast and, you know, or,
Mom, you're cut.
Yeah, exactly.
you couldn't handle it. You were shit. You're not in my next film.
Yeah, exactly. No. And
enunciate.
And so we had some, you know, the COVID era really kind of put everybody behind as far as production and stuff like that. And it became one of those things where a lot of people were trying to figure out, how do we maneuver this? And we took that time to, I think we incorporated in 22. So our EchoEterna's birthday is 2/22 of 22.
There you go. Nice.
And so we officially launched then. We'd been working on the script for Speakeasy, our next project, for a couple of years at that point. And
I can't wait to get into that, by the way.
Yeah. And we, you know, started focusing on building our evil empire, you know,
Mr. President.
Yeah, from the ground up. And it was, you know, a chore. We had a good fundraiser here in March of last year to handle some operating expenses. I think we raised about $7,000 or $8,000 then, and
that's great.
And it helped us to you know, build out our studio, build out some of our props, and pay for a consultant for a little while. But you know, at a certain point, those funds start to run out, and you have to look for more funding, and you can only go to your friends and family hat in hand so many times,
especially after you've cut them out of your film.
Yeah, exactly. So we started looking at real funding and how do we get you know, investors on board, and that's where we're at now. We have a great cast and crew lined up. And we're at this point, we're just looking to find some people who are, you know, not new to the filmmaking industry as far as investment goes. In the Midwest, I don't know if you've run into this yourselves, but in the Midwest, investors tend to be of two varieties: real estate and restaurateurs. And they want to know how quickly they can, you know,
make a profit.
Get a return on that investment. And with filmmaking, one, there's no guarantee you're going to get a return, and two, so you have to be able to willingly be able to write that off if you have to. And then two, you know, if there is a return, it's probably not going to be within the next 10 years, maybe 5 years at best. So it's not something that you need to be really concerned about turning a profit quickly. And so what we need to find are the gatekeepers to those type of investors. We met with somebody out in LA who was just like, yeah, you need to raise your budget. And we're like, what?
It wasn't me. I didn't say that.
We haven't heard that. And he was truthful with us. When you raise your budget, you can hire a A-list or B-list actor. And that approach tends to attract your higher level investors.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
If you get a name attached to it, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah,
so
it's easier to sell that way because they have someone who they can recognize, right?
Yeah, and you would think that you could pitch a $250,000 to $500,000 film, and people would be like, "Yeah, I can invest in that. That's a low budget." But the investors who are looking to invest in films, they're looking for an investment in a bigger budget, something that can bring them a return eventually.
They're not looking for something to return $5-6 grand. Like, even though that's a win, I guess.
Exactly.
They don't give a shit about forking out, 15, 20, 30K just to get back 25, 35K. Like, it's not worth their time, which sucks because you feel like, I don't know, that's still a win, isn't it? But it's just not big enough for that.
Here in the Midwest,
risk.
Here in the Midwest, a $500,000 budget seems huge. I mean, that's a large house here.
Yeah, I was about to say
that's 4 houses where I'm from.
Well, the houses you grew up in, Damien.
That's what I'm talking about in the old neighborhood.
But that's nothing when you talk about an independent film. An independent film now is anywhere between $3 and $10 million.
Jeez, actually, okay. I wanna go off the rails already real quick because I cannot fathom that because I just watched a film and we talked about this, Christian. I just watched a film that I assume was an independent, like low budget film.
Right.
Did you watch Spaghetti Man by chance?
I've not even heard of Spaghetti Man.
Oh my God. So first of all, I love it.
Okay.
It's on Amazon.
Of
so
course,
if you're looking for something to just like watch for an hour and 45 minutes or whatever, but I watched it and I was like, there's no way that they filmed this for more than like 50K.
Right.
So you're telling me even Spaghetti Man was probably a couple $1 million?
No, probably not. So like,
okay, I was like,
there are independent.
We are fucked, Christian.
No. There are independent features that have a professional vibe and are marketable.
Sure.
And those will be in your $2 million to $10 million range. But there are independent films that are, what people would consider no budget or micro budget, and they're in the 200,000 or less.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
what do you call a budget of like $3,000?
That's a no budget. Yeah. That's no budget.
All right, Christian, back to the drawing board.
If you can rent a camera package and a lighting setup for $3,000, you're in good shape. You got a great deal.
I have a new phone.
And
that's what the iPhone commercial says.
Honestly, the democratization of technology has really inspired a lot of people to do things that they never would have dreamt was possible before.
Look at us.
I mean, and there are a lot of filmmakers who are experimenting with iPhone as as their film. Apparently 28 years later, the trilogy ending feature is being shot on an iPhone, but they're also using.
But how many attachments?
Right,
are there?
they're using a rig that uses cinema lenses on it.
Exactly. I'm like, sure, you're using an iPhone, but you're also using $50,000 pieces of equipment attached.
Sure. I'm thinking of Soderbergh shot a movie called Unsane, and it was all on an iPhone, but it also had a rig with lenses on it. Basically what you're using the iPhone for is it's a sensor that you would have in any other digital camera, and then you're modifying it by using the lenses that are like professional grade lenses.
Right.
But it's all a matter of semantics at that point. It's still a really decent camera that most people have.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with the right, lighting, the right color grading, add some film texture to it, it looks really good. So, yeah, the democratization of technology has meant a lot for a lot of people, where it was unreachable before, and now a lot of people are able to, pursue an art form that was, priced out of their range most of the time. So I appreciate it. I think it's awesome. Like I said, our first film we shot on 16 millimeter film, and that made for a lot of challenges, because when you're shooting on film, you have a budget of actual film. It's like the economy of how much film you have. And so
does that make it tough because you have to be very, very precise?
You have to be, you have to be conscious about, dude, we're not getting this scene. We've shot it 10 times. That, we're running up on a half a roll of film here. Like we can't keep shooting this scene. So at a certain point, you're either like, fuck it, we're going to move on, or fuck it, we're going to take the one that we just got, and that's it. Instead of just hitting delete and, on a digital camera and just moving on, we'll take as many shots as we need to with a digital camera.
Sure.
But when it's on film, the economy of film makes it very, very difficult, and you're conscious of it the whole time.
Yeah.
There are a lot of takes that we probably should have got more than 3 or 4 takes of, but you make choices in the moment based on, all those different variables. Get
in here, Christian. What do you got?
No, I was going to ask, does that also make editing it much harder as well versus digital? Like, I guess we're going to be complete newbies with that. So you shot on film,
right? So back in the
use a computer?
Back in the old day, you would actually cut and tape,
splice
the film together, and that was how
Shout out Fight Club,
right?
By the way,
one of my favorites.
I was going to bring that up too. I know it's a top 5. We'll get to that later.
Yeah. So we. Back in the day, that's how you used to edit film. And now you can actually send it away. It's digitized by a professional company. They send you a hard drive back with your digitized version on it. You do the editing process, and then you can finalize it as a digital media format, but it was shot on film, so it retains all of that film graininess and just that classic film look. Or you can send it back and have it transferred back to film, and then, have to find theaters that actually still project in film.
Yeah.
Which do you prefer, by the way, between digital and film?
I prefer the look of film. But like working with it. The ease of use, I prefer digital, but Patrick definitely prefers film.
Gotcha.
But is
there a big compromise that has to happen because you both have different?
Yeah, as a producer, I'm the one that has to keep him grounded.
Yeah.
And so producing on shooting something on film today is more expensive.
Sure.
This film stock is expensive now. It's not being it's not being produced as much as it used to be. And then just processing it and all that, it's a little bit more difficult. Just shooting it yourself on digital, I mean, you can edit it without having to pay a third party to transfer it and all that kind of stuff. So from a producer's perspective, it's like, this is much more economical. Let's just do it this way.
Yeah.
I would argue that there are post-production effects, filters, LUTs that you can add to a digital project that can resemble film texture and grain. He would say, no, it still sucks.
It's just an Instagram filter.
Yeah. I mean, it's higher higher quality than that, but yes, for the most part, it's just a filter. But he would say, as the perfectionist, he would say, no, that it still sucks. Film is the only true medium.
Sure.
But he's a little bit of a perfectionist as far as that goes, and a little bit of a cinephile. Where I
romantic about it.
Yes. Yeah. Where I want to keep the costs down, and I want to put out the best project that we can reasonably afford.
Yeah.
Well, and it also seems. Oh, go for it, Christian. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I get it as like me and Davian both absolutely love music, but like I love listening to music on vinyl if I can.
So do I.
Because of the tangible, you get the cracks, you get the pops,
Yep.
and some stuff you can't hear. And I guess he probably feels the same way about film, and you can tell a difference.
Yeah, we're both big vinyl fans.
Mm-hmm.
And once I switched back to everything on vinyl, the fidelity of vinyl for me sounds so much richer than like a digital version.
Yeah.
And
can we just say, go back to buying physical media, please?
Yeah.
As a public service announcement.
Yeah.
It's better for everybody.
Dude,
you don't have to pay, fucking streamers.
I follow a guy that is a movie review guy, and he's big on digital physical media. He's got, a huge Blu-ray and 4K collection that he's been showing off. And a part of me is like, I think I might have to start doing that. Yeah. I mean,
my DVD and Blu-ray shelf is so bulky; it takes up so much space in our house. Yeah. And we're like, do we just like get rid of it? I'm like, no, we don't fucking get rid of it. I'll put it in a closet somewhere.
Sure,
but I'm not getting rid of that.
Sure.
I actually ran into. I wanted to really watch something, and literally no one was streaming it, and I legitimately I was trying to find like legit ways to pay for it to stream.
Like, I will pay you for this.
And I ended up buying DVDs off of eBay.
Honestly, if you have a great library system, I go to our library and borrow movies all the time.
That's a great
shout out to libraries.
Yeah,
keep the libraries alive, please.
They still have a great selection most of the time. If you are looking for something that they don't have, they can order it if they know that people will check it out.
Yeah.
The one here in the Cincinnati Dayton area, specifically the Dayton area, tons of foreign stuff, tons of art house stuff. I mean, where do you go anymore to quote check out or rent physical media? There are no video stores.
Unfortunately, rest in peace, Blockbuster.
Yeah. But so it's either pay $40 to $80 for a hard to find DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, whatever, or maybe check out the library and see if they've got it.
What I miss?
Ours even has a searchable database website that you can check to see if they carry it before you go. I
love that.
You put it on.
It's like looking at the menu before you get to the restaurant.
Yeah, you can put it on hold and they'll pull it for you and have it waiting. Yeah, it's great.
You know what I miss? I miss the maybe this is I don't know. This probably wasn't just a Nebraska thing, but I miss the what was it called? The $5 or $10 bin at Walmart.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever do that?
Yeah.
Where it was just a bin. I mean, a 4-foot tall bin of just reject DVDs and Blu-rays, and I was just like, me and my wife would make a date out of it. We would literally go like, hey, you want to go to Walmart, get a rotisserie chicken and look for some movies?
Yeah. And
honestly,
one rotisserie chicken.
Sometimes you'll find a gem in that like maybe mistakenly got put in there.
You know what I found in there? Page Master.
Oh,
no way. You remember that movie?
Yeah, Macaulay
Culkin. Yes, dude.
That's awesome.
The Page Master. I was like, oh my God, I was raised on this movie.
That was like his
good luck
movie,
finding that anywhere. Yeah. Good luck finding that anywhere on
movie.
streaming. Yeah, it was. I think it was his second movie.
Yeah, I know a buddy who he's very much into movie and like 4K Blu-ray DVD specifically, and he heard, I think it was Best Buy got rid of all their physical media.
Yep.
And he found out about it and knew like a buddy who worked at Best Buy, and he's like, okay, everything is on is very discounted.
Yeah.
And he got so many. He was like, I don't even like this movie, but I got it because it was like $1.
I wish I had thought to do that. Back in the day when Blockbuster was going out of business, I did get a lot of their stock when they were getting rid of it.
There you go.
But they didn't carry a lot of Blu-rays back then. It was mostly just DVDs. But yeah, I stocked up on a lot of the classics, old Hitchcock and and stuff like that. So, it's physical media. I think it's going to make a resurgence. I think that I have teenagers, and my kids are now getting to the point where the coolness and the accessibility of digital stuff is kind of like not cool to them. They're like,
Yep.
it's kind of lame. And
it's outdated now, which is hilarious.
Yeah, and the idea of like having a collection of stuff that's physical that they can go and look at and touch and use as art on the wall, and like I think that they're appreciating that more. So,
and I think the other thing about that too, about old school inventions in media and stuff like that is, you know, everything nowadays is digital where you can't really interact with it that much, right? It's just on your phone. But back in the day, watching a movie was its own separate piece of equipment.
Yeah.
Listening to music was its own separate piece of equipment. You had to interact with these things in order to enjoy them, as opposed to now they just show up whenever you Google it.
I miss special features and director's commentaries.
Yeah.
That's what I miss.
Yeah, dude.
I remember
the director's cut of Lord of the Rings.
I remember getting the 7 special edition DVD and listening to David Fincher talk about that, and Zodiac special edition, and listening to David
So you're a big David Fincher fan.
I'm a huge Fincher fan.
Fuck yeah, dude. Yeah. The way he shoots movies is incredible.
Yeah. He definitely has
shows.
Yeah, he definitely has an old school filmmaker perspective. He's one of the directors that shows exposition in a way that's not boring.
Yeah.
You know, where he always puts exposition in with action. There's always something going on screen where somebody's telling you what you need to know as an audience member. It's not just two people sitting across from a desk talking.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But one of my favorite films is another film that is people sitting around across from a desk talking almost the entire movie, is Social Network.
Yeah.
And
that is shot beautifully as well.
And it's shot so meticulously. And one of the reasons it's such a good film is because Aaron Sorkin knows how to write a script that takes all of the mundanity, is that right? Of people sitting around talking, and he makes it interesting. It is a talky film.
Yeah.
And you're never bored. It's a 2 out.
That's kind of his style though, man. That's kind of what he's perfected
absolutely
in his career.
Yeah,
he really
West
does a great
Wing
job of that.
To Sports Night to all the other TV shows that he produced, and then every film that I've seen. I mean, A Few Good Men.
He wrote.
You
can't handle the truth.
Right, he wrote that. He actually directed Molly's Game, which is a really interesting film about a high-end gambling ring, and I loved it. I thought it was great. So I appreciate.
By the way, the "You can't handle the truth" in A Few Good Men, that line, and I know I'm guilty of it because I just said it too.
Sure.
That line is by far not even the greatest part of that in that entire exchange.
No.
That exchange is one of the greatest
it's so
written
good.
dialogues of
It's
any
so
movie
good.
of all time. And people don't understand that is like a 15-second piece of like a 5-minute dialogue between them.
Yeah. And the thing is most people don't realize this, but that was written as a stage play.
I did it. I performed it.
It was produced as a stage play before it was picked up as a film, and then he wrote the screenplay for the film based on his screenplay for the stage play.
That's incredible.
When you watch it, it feels like a play. It feels like
you need me on that wall.
Yeah. There's a lot of gravitas to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the stakes are so fucking high at that point.
Yeah.
It's so good.
You need me on that wall is such a great line.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't handle the truth is a great line, but you want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. It's like, it gives you chills because you're like, he's not fucking lying.
No.
To be honest, you need a cold ass motherfucker on that line.
Exactly. No, it's so good.
Christian.
Yeah, and I feel like people forget, like, Tom Cruise is on the under end of that, but also makes that scene so good.
Yep.
And
and Demi Moore's just sitting there observing, and the way that she's interacting from the sidelines is even perfect.
Yeah,
where she doesn't have a line, but she's like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, no, it's one of the best films in the last 40 years, performance and script. So I was talking to my writing partner Patrick. I was talking about how
shout out Patrick.
I haven't read very many nonfiction books in the past 10 years. Most of my reading is nonfiction, usually about screenwriting or film production or fundraising, or it's a screenplay. Like I read a ton of screenplays because one of the ways you become better is to know the craft itself and
Absolutely.
read from the people that have written some of the best screenplays ever. So I read a lot of screenplays, and it's really interesting when you read what was on the paper and what was interpreted on screen. And sometimes it's not the same. Sometimes it's better on paper. Sometimes it's great on screen. It's really interesting to read the screenplay itself.
But that's also the reason people get so pissed off about books turning into movies, is because the way that you read it on the page is completely different than what you had imagined in your head.
And a lot of screenplays are available as PDF for free online. So if anybody's ever interested in reading their favorite movie, I would highly suggest it. It's really pretty cool. And you see the difference in how a movie is made. Like we had to cut this in order to get this to fit. We had to change this in order to make this appropriate for the film. Like I remember reading Star Beast, which was the original screenplay for Alien.
And, nice. Okay.
And it is almost a completely different story.
Oh, wow.
It's more horror-y, right?
Yeah. And more of the alien.
Yeah.
So Alien works as a horror movie because it kind of takes the Jaws approach of don't show the monster as much as
which is brilliant,
as much as you think you should.
Yep. Same with like even Beetlejuice did that.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice is only on screen for what, 20, 30 minutes?
Yeah, exactly.
I know it's not a horror, but he's the villain.
Yeah.
And the name.
Yeah. And it encapsulates the whole theory of like, look at how influential this character is, even though they're on screen a quarter of the time of the movie.
Right.
You can never do that with the main character, I'll tell you that much.
No.
That's why villains rule.
So, back to the original question. Patrick and I started EchoEterna. We started developing the script for Speakeasy. We got the cast and crew lined up. Some great actors lined up for that. I'll give you a little bit. Speakeasy is about a kind of a renegade punk band that's living in a near future society where the government has kind of restricted your ability to showcase like self-expressive art.
Sure.
And so a lot of the art being produced through the government sanctions is just like generic, almost AI, paint by number stuff that is really saccharine and has no emotion to it.
Meet the algorithm.
Right. And, but it is also restricted as far as it's almost become propaganda for the state, where underground art, the real art is being produced, is restricted because it can be used as propaganda, because it can be anti-state and can rally people against the state. And so our punk band, the Riot Police, is producing music that would be, potentially put them in the crosshairs of the government and make it very dangerous for them. They pick up a stowaway along their way that makes them public enemy number one. And so
you can't go into that without giving it away, right?
No. So here they are trying to make music, trying to live a life outside of the cooperative, which is the government state run government, and try to stay off the radar, and instead they become the biggest blip on the radar. And when we realized that music was going to play such an important part of the film, we knew that we were going to write the music ourselves. We were going to produce all of the music. Patrick and myself and our friend Dan Benham out of Columbus, the three of us would write and produce all the music with the help of Mikey Chappell, who's a producer in the Dayton area. He has a home studio that we produced it all in. And so the demos would be completed, and then the actors playing the band we would have them come in and record their own versions of these songs.
Wow.
That's fucking awesome.
As the Riot Police. And then those would be the songs that the audience would hear from stage. So the goal is eventually to release a double album that would be the demos by us, and then the Riot Police's interpretation of those songs. So it was very important that we cast incredible actors who are also musicians.
Right.
One of our biggest pet peeves is when we see a performance on a movie or a television show and you know that person doesn't know what the fuck they're doing.
Sure.
Yeah. I love like the YouTube videos of some actual like guitarist playing like what the, and it's like,
it's awful. And you're like, there's no way that should have, it's kind of like, so my wife, I don't know if you guys, have people
I was gonna bring this up.
People in your lives who know Gilmore Girls, but they're pretty notorious for picking up a cup of coffee that has nothing in it. You can tell that there's no weight to it. Like this has something in it. You can kind of tell it bounces in my hand because of the weight. They'll pick up a cup that has nothing in it and you could tell there's no weight to it. And it was such a pet peeve of mine that, or, like a car speeds away on a show and it's on gravel, but you hear the peel out of squealing tires on gravel. Like that wouldn't happen. Don't put that in there. Like that's unnecessary. It takes me out of it. So when we realized how important music was going to be to this, we said we need to have musicians. We need to have actors who are 10 out of 10 actors and 10 out of 10 musicians.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that doesn't come cheap, and they're not easy to find. And so we did a casting call on a website called Backstage. We found.
I may or may not be on there.
Yeah, I am too, as a voiceover actor.
Perhaps.
And we found 4 incredibly talented musicians. Ashley Lawhorn is cast as our drummer. She's out of Columbus. Andy Joe Taylor is one of our vocalists and guitarists. She's out of Toledo. Gideon Berger is our lead. He's the lead vocalist and guitarist, and he's out of Brooklyn, New York. And then Brent Bentley is out of Nashville, and he's our bass player.
You said Gideon, and it made me think of Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah. One of our
G-Man is Gideon.
One of our favorites. We love Scott Pilgrim.
Yes.
There's not a lot of
so good.
There's not a lot of music movies that aren't quote musicals or biopics.
Biopic, yeah.
Right.
And so that was the other thing that we were looking at with this movie is it's completely fictional. No, it's not a biopic. It's not a musical. It is a movie about a band. And there's very few of those. There's Almost Famous.
SLC Punk.
SLC Punk, Almost Famous. And then one of my favorites, which is in the background here. I don't know if you can see the poster or not.
A little off camera.
But it's Green Room, an A24 film with Anton Yelchin.
That's such a great film.
And I love that movie. And I won't hesitate to say that, it made me really miss the fact that we won't get another Anton Yelchin movie because it was one of his last ones.
It was.
If you haven't seen the documentary about him, it's called Love Antosha, which is his.
That's a recommendation, folks.
I think it's his real name is Antosha, or it's what his mom called him. But they were a refugee from Soviet Union, and it's just a beautiful movie. Beautiful love story of his family and how much they loved their son and what he meant to them and what he meant to the people around him in his life. Will not hesitate to say that I cried a lot watching that.
All
movie.
right.
Yeah.
That's a great recommendation.
It's beautiful. Love Antosha. I think it's available on Amazon.
Yep.
But yeah, so Speakeasy's in the funding phase. We've been trying to find the gatekeepers to that kind of fundraising. And we've spoken to a couple of producers out in LA, and right now we're also working on a pitch for a script that we're writing for another producer. And we're going to pitch that to him within the next few weeks. And hopefully that will turn into a moneymaker for us to put money towards Speakeasy. So
I wanted to ask about Speakeasy real quick too. So the way that you're describing it, because of the way that you're incorporating the music, is there an opportunity for that to be on stage?
Is that
something you'd ever want as a
production?
As a production,
it could,
like a jukebox musical kind of.
Yeah, it could definitely
almost like a what do they call that, hairball, kind of like that a little bit.
I don't know. Like one of our thoughts is that the world is very big, but the story we're telling is fairly small, and so it definitely lends itself to a graphic novel expansion. And we've actually spoken to a couple of graphic novel publishers and some illustrators about what we could do to expand that story, because there's a lot of story that takes place before Speakeasy, and there's a lot of story that takes place simultaneous to Speakeasy that we could expand on. So there is a lot of story that we could play with here, and I'm excited for that opportunity. I never considered that, but it very well could turn into something that could be a stage production. One of the other aspects of the film is that it's not just these punk musicians. They're going to be playing shows with other musicians in the underground. And so we're partnering with some hip hop artists that we know in the Dayton area to write some stuff for it, where we've got just some like hair metal style bands, some pop punk bands, some pop bands. We've got a lot of. Pat is a drummer in a local Dayton area band called Moira, and he's also played with some hardcore bands and some some other bands in the past. And so he's got a huge connection to the music world in the Dayton, Columbus, Cincinnati area, and we're calling in all favors there. So we'll have a lot of opportunity for various musical styles in the movie, and I'm excited for that too. So it's not just a punk movie, which I would prefer watching anything that's a punk movie. I'm a very big punk fan, but it also gives us an opportunity to play with some other styles and some other and to showcase some other artists. We hope to have artists in the area perform as themselves in opening acts and people who are that the band is interacting with in green rooms and stuff like that. So we look forward to that opportunity. I always say that the fundraising stage is the worst part for somebody who would prefer to be either on set or in the writer's room. And that's me. I much rather be on set or in the writer's room. But it's the necessary evil. None of us have, rich uncles who have passed away and left us $5 million. So
not yet. There's still time.
Yeah, there's still time. Uncle Frank, you hear me?
If you're listening.
Yeah. But I come from a pretty, lower middle class background.
Oh, here we go. Now we're getting
into the podcast.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into it. Talk about that.
So the idea of like raising this kind of money is it's kind of crazy to me. It's kind of out of nowhere. Like this doesn't fit. I grew up in a mid-sized town called Anderson, Indiana. It's northeast of Indianapolis.
Oh, so you're not from Ohio?
No, I'm not originally.
Yeah, that is something I definitely want to get into.
I'm not originally from Ohio. Michelle, my wife, is originally from Anaheim, California.
Hey, all right.
So we met in northeastern Kentucky. If you know where Ashland, Kentucky is, or Huntington, West Virginia.
No one knows where Ashland is.
It's kind of in that area. But I'd say it's in the armpit of West Virginia, Ohio, and Kentucky.
Yeah.
So that's where we met.
Why did you meet there?
We went to school at a small Christian university back in the day when I was religious.
Okay.
And we met there in 97. We dated for 10 months and we were married in 98.
Wow.
You did really go to a Christian college.
Yeah, right. She was after that MRS degree.
Yeah.
But
now she writes music about like.
No, she's a doctoral candidate in social work. So she's the breadwinning doctoral candidate.
And there you go.
And I joke that I'm the guy that is standing there going, "Look at all the projects that I haven't finished."
Yeah,
that's so funny.
You mean you have ADHD? That's what you're saying?
Yes, I very much do. She keeps me grounded. We've been together for 27 years.
Wow.
So, most of the friends that we have that are, come from that era of our lives are more than once, divorced or on their, second marriage at least. And not to shame them, like mistakes happen and
fucking sinners.
And
you grow up,
right?
Right.
You are not always the same person you were. She was 19 and I was 22. We had no business getting married, but we've made it work. We grew up together, essentially, and luckily we grew in the same direction. So we've made it work, and we have 3 kids that have challenged that every bit of the way.
You mentioned at the beginning that you and your writing partner did not have any like screenwrite, like any film background.
Nope.
So what were you like? Yep, let's build a film company.
In high school, I was I intended to be a journalism major. I was the editor of the yearbook and the newspaper. I was on staff my junior and senior years. I wrote for the local newspaper. I wrote for several regional magazines and things like that. And the goal was to go to Ball State University, which was close by.
Yeah, Muncie, right?
They had a really great journalism program that I could afford. And I actually had a scholarship to go there. And somewhere along the lines, plans changed, and I ended up at a private Christian university studying ministry. Getting a bachelor's degree, focusing on a bachelor's degree in biblical studies. So I didn't finish at that school. I actually finished my degree years later at a Christian university here in the Cincinnati area. So my degree is in organizational leadership and biblical studies, but I'm an atheist.
Yeah,
there you go. That tracks.
Yeah. I grew up in organized religion, and sometimes when you see how the sausage is made, you become a vegetarian.
Yeah.
So nothing against anybody that still uses religion as their process for finding hope. But I found
religion as sausage.
Yeah, I found hope in other.
That's
things.
The name of this,
right? I found hope in other things, and have
like punk music,
right? And since I've moved on, the punk music angle is definitely from growing up in a lower middle class blue collar town where dreams felt like like something that you couldn't afford. And so in my hometown growing up, I graduated in 94. So I'm probably a bit older than you guys. I graduated in 94, and it was either you go to work for the General Motors factory. There was 3 in my hometown at the time. There's now one. And I think they only operate like one shift at all. I think they might employ 500 people when originally, when I was in high school, they employed like 15,000 people.
Damn. So the entire town.
Yeah, the entire town was built on the success or the failure of General Motors. And since they've moved out, you can guess what happened to my hometown.
That can't be great.
Yeah. But it was either you join the factory, which was lucrative at the time. You could start there and, have a guaranteed career for 30 years if you wanted it.
Get a good pension.
Yeah, exactly. My grandfather, he retired from General Motors after 35 years, and did he love it? No, but he had a great pension, and he, had a decent living, and he was kind of an early adopter of most technology. He was the first person I knew with a big screen television. He was the first person I knew with a hi-fi VHS, stereo VHS player. He was the first person I knew that he had an old school cell phone that was like in a bag that you took.
The bag,
yeah. So like he was a gadget guy. So
was he a film guy?
No. I mean, he watched a lot of war and Western movies,
Sure.
But
Midwest grandpa, right there.
Yeah, exactly. Like I can't tell you how many times MASH or Bonanza was on.
Yeah, absolutely.
But my parents my dad was a firefighter, and so I grew up with this working class mentality of every firefighter I've ever known had a second job. It's just part of the gig. You worked as a handyman, or you ran a side business as a construction, or you did some various form of
a moving company is big. One of my really good friends, his dad was a firefighter, but had a moving company where it was just all firefighters,
landscaper, like there. And so my dad, helped with all those kinds of jobs to make ends meet. My mom was a stay-at-home mom for most of my life. She worked in the school system for a little while when I was in school, but she was diagnosed with a really difficult cancer when I was about 12, and she passed away just before I turned 19. And so my brothers were 12 and 15, I think 12 and 16 when she passed away. So, my dad had the responsibility of raising, the three of us on his salary and taking care of my mom, in a situation that nobody really, saw coming.
Sure.
She was 39 when she passed away. So, we grew up fast, and it was not easy for anybody, but my parents were big on music. We weren't musicians. We weren't musicians. I didn't play anything at the time, but I grew up on classic rock from my dad: Zeppelin, The Doors, CCR, Pink Floyd, Queen. Stuff like that. And then Black Sabbath. And then my mom was more into like top 40 stuff, but that gave me my influence of like, I'm a huge Prince fan. I love In Excess. I love a lot of the 80s new wave and Blondie, shit like that. And that kind of stuff was very influenced by the punk movement. And so I started getting into more punk music as I got older, and started listening to a lot of punk and shoegaze, My Bloody Valentine, stuff like that. The Clash was probably the first punk band that I gravitated towards, but then I got into a lot of the East Coast punk, Minor Threat especially. The DC area stuff. And then Black Flag came along, and then Fugazi, and like all that stuff I just really gravitated towards. Back in the 90s when I was in high school, I was a huge Rage Against the Machine fan, and still am.
Right.
And they blended a lot of the...
What if I just pulled out a bunch of shells from my pocket?
Right pocket full of shells. But
that'd be so stupid.
Yes.
But like growing up at the time, I didn't realize that Rage Against the Machine's lyrics would still be relevant 30 years later.
Me and my wife, weirdly enough, we were listening to them yesterday because I can't remember what she asked me to like pick up like my dirty socks, and I was like, "Fuck you!
Do what you tell me."
She's like, "You can't quote that all the time."
Yeah, yes, I can, and I will.
If you actually listen to the song, it is like there are no lyrics really. It's just that and the same of like some forces are the ones that bring crosses.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Like a lot of his lyrics are just repetitive, like
Mm-hmm.
La Rocha.
yeah, repetitive like stanzas of like almost like beat poetry.
Yeah.
And then you get the rhythm section and
You get
Tom's
Tom just making alien noises on a guitar.
Tom,
Like,
Yep.
yeah, alien noises on a guitar. That's about it. But I love it.
yeah.
And I'm a bass player, and so like
Mm-hmm.
their rhythm section is really influential
Yeah.
to me.
Mm-hmm.
I love everything that they do. So, but yeah, I started getting into playing music when I got to college.
Mm.
If you don't know anything about going to a small Christian college, everybody plays acoustic guitar.
Yep. Yep. You gotta do it for the youth
Hallelujah.
group,
Yeah.
right? For a
So,
youth
but
pastor.
I actually was in a band in college, and another group of guys that I was friends with were in a band, and it was actually an electric guitar band.
Ooh,
And
breaking the
then
mold.
they ended up leaving, going to Nashville,
Oh,
getting
yeah.
signed with a major label for a Christian outfit.
And that band was Reliant K.
No, that band
Oh,
was a band called Bleach. I don't know
Oh.
if
okay.
you've ever heard them, but they're actually doing a reunion tour this summer.
Wait, I
So
feel like I do know that.
yeah,
band.
they had
Yeah.
6 or 8 albums. They were on
It like rings a bell.
yeah, they
kind
were
of
on
thing.
Forefront Records and Tooth and Nail Records, which were both pretty big record labels in the genre.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, our band didn't go anywhere. I ended up leaving the band in my junior year, and then I actually left school my junior year.
Oh yeah, I do know them.
I met Michelle what would have been my senior year, but I was already waiting tables and bartending at that point. So she did, I think, a few years there, and then after we got married, we were like, let's move on. Let's go find something else.
Yeah.
We moved back to Indiana
Mhm.
from Eastern Kentucky. We moved back to Indiana for a year. We lived in the Muncie, Indiana area, which is about 35, 40 minutes from my hometown. And I was working at a restaurant in Ashland, Kentucky. Then we moved and transferred to another restaurant under that franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was waiting tables and bartending there. My grandmother at the time was pretty sick, and she ended up passing away. And after she passed, we were like, Indiana's just not it. And so we had some friends that were in the Dayton area. We came to visit them and hung out with them. We were like, dude, we kind of like it here. And
Okay.
we were like, yeah, let's see what we can find. I had been working for a youth organization in Muncie at the time. I had left the restaurant and had started there. And so I transferred to Dayton with a new organization. I worked there for about 2 years as a supervisor. And then I've currently been working for a juvenile rehabilitation facility for the last 22 years. I'm a supervisor there. We deal with kids who have been adjudicated with criminal offenses, ranging everywhere from drug and alcohol and assault to violent offenses.
You must, because I know Cincinnati, Dayton area, the opiate epidemic really hit. I can't remember. I think it was whatever the Cincinnati paper is called.
The Inquirer.
They did a great 5-day exposition about it was like that count. I think it won a Peabody or some type of and that was really eye opening. So that had to be some crazy.
It was
time.
A big deal for about 5 years, maybe 6 or 7 years. I think COVID kind of helped us in that way because people weren't out getting stuff. They were kind of stuck at home.
I guess I didn't think about the drug trade going down
because opiates haven't been as big a problem that we've seen. Now, I don't work with the adults, but as far as we've seen, it hasn't been as big a problem in the past 5 years. We have a lot of problems with synthetics and meth and
it's the Midwest.
Yeah, it's the Midwest. You get that angsty Midwest, depression, and you got to get a little something to bump you up. We get a lot of like medication abuse. Most kids in this area are able to get medication pretty easily, either from their parents or from their friends, unfortunately. So that's what I do as a 9 to 5. I work with that program. It's a rewarding job. I view my job as the opportunity to be a positive male role model.
There you go.
Most of those guys don't have positive male role models in their lives. Most of them don't know a life where the most influential male in their life has been locked up, for various reasons. And so most of the guys that I see, they're, criminal thinking is part of the family, dynamic. And so I get the opportunity to be, a positive influence on them and show them what it's like to not only be artistic and creative and a problem solver in this world, but to do so with respect for the people around them and, provide, some sense of like, this is what stable, normalcy looks like. A lot of our kids that I work with, they're almost addicted to chaos because they're constantly in fight or flight mode. And so they learn
it's a hard cycle to break.
Yeah. They're constantly learning how to like deal with something when it's chaotic. So when things are calm, they get uncomfortable. And so they, intentionally, sabotage and make things uncomfortable for everybody around them so that they know how to get attention. It's just not good attention.
It's almost like God, I'm going to mispronounce this word. Recidivism. There we go.
Recidivism.
Yeah, like you hear about that all the time with people who get out of because they're not used to had this one life and then they had all the structure inside, and then you throw them back into a world like I remember seeing a video recently, someone who was incarcerated for like 2 decades, and like they're like, "What the fuck's an iPhone?" Like,
right. We don't do, and I don't want to get on a soapbox, but we don't do enough to reprogram people into society. We want to get them back into society to be what we call functional, members of society, but we don't give them the tangible resources and the tangible tools to make that adjustment as easy as possible. We have halfway houses, and that's fine. We have, community corrections programs and things like that. But what they really need is like life skills opportunities to like catch them up with where the world is and
decision making. And what is the thinking behind a potential great decision and a potential bad decision. I think making decisions is a snap decision, but if you can teach the brain function of what it means to do one versus the other and what are the consequences of either is super important.
All the kids know that I'm a filmmaker. They know that I'm a storyteller. And I do this with my own teenagers at home. I say, if you're a character in the story, what decision you're making right now, what the decision you make right now impacts the next scene. So what's the next scene in this story? And that kind of helps them to like draw the connection between my behavior and the consequence to my behavior. What's the next scene look like? A lot of kids, they're so impulsive right now, and they're so focused on instant gratification that they don't realize that what they do right now will affect them in the next scene, whatever that is. So, I bring storytelling and filmmaking into my life all the time.
It's great thinking.
Yeah. And my kids are big movie geeks. I'm a sci-fi nerd. I grew up on sci-fi. I love a lot of the common sci-fi movies. Star Wars and Alien is probably one of my top 5 movies.
That's my wife and I's favorite franchise.
Yeah, I would say Aliens is in my top 5 action movies. But my top 5 all time, Alien is up there.
Yeah.
And
the new one was pretty fucking good too.
It was great. It was great up until there was a little bit too much fan service for my taste.
Yeah.
They could have done without that, and it would have been a 4-star movie for me.
Yeah.
I do think that what was her name? Callie Spenny.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah.
I think she was great. She was a welcome antagonist or protagonist.
Protagonist, yeah.
I think that everything about it, I was like, yeah, I'm here for this. I like the expansion of the story. It's not just Ripley's story anymore.
Yeah.
Although Ripley's one of the best protagonists in sci-fi.
Oh yeah.
And I was happy with it. I think it's a great film. Like I said, I'm a film nerd, so I critique the shit out of everything.
Yeah.
I probably only have about 20 5-star movies in my Letterboxd.
That's actually more than I would have anticipated, to be honest.
Yeah. Most films end up in the 3-star, maybe 3.5-star range for me. Which, I mean, if you're a teacher, that's a bell curve. I mean, that's a C.
That would make sense.
I look at that and I go, it's a serviceable film. It's fine.
Yeah.
But not very many movies make it to 5-star or even 4.5-star for me. And it's usually because I found something irritating that other people would be like, you're stupid. Why would you knock a movie for that?
We're just looking at it at a different lens.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as a musician, as a filmmaker, I can't listen to a live performance without hearing the sharp notes and the beats that were off and, or see a glitch in the production. I see all that stuff.
Yeah.
And
I gotta go back to how the sausage is made.
Yeah. You see how the sausage is made. Yeah.
Speaking of how the sausage is made, I hate to do this, but we are getting close to time here.
Oh my God, you're kidding.
So I know. So I do have one more question, and then I'm going to pass it off to Christian.
Okay.
And see where we're at from there. It's been a while.
It flew by.
Already.
Yeah, it really has. I'm sorry I took up so much time talking about.
No, you're the guest. You're supposed to be doing
it.
Yeah, I feel like there was like questions and shit, but no.
We don't ever get to them anyway. But there is one question that I have, and it's regarding what your career is, and also a little bit of the theme of the podcast, which is as a storyteller, movie maker, creative mind.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Ohio or the Midwest in general is a place that you're going to stay, even though most people would say if you're one of these people, you should go to one of the coasts?
I think that there has been a trend to move out of that mindset. Maybe in the past 5-ish years, a lot of what can be done remotely. I don't have to sit in a writer's room with somebody. I don't have to sit in a meeting with a producer in tangible space with them anymore. That being said, if I have to fly out, I would, but I don't think it's necessary anymore.
Sure.
And with us starting our own production company here, we realized that a lot of the ideas that we want to make, we can just shoot them ourselves if we get the funding.
Right.
And we're okay with that. But if we had the opportunity to move out west or to the East Coast or even to Chicago, which is, a good work,
Chicago.
Or, if God forbid I have to move to Vancouver or Toronto, those are all great movie making cities. Cincinnati is a really good city for production right now. Ohio offers a really great tax incentive for movie productions.
Right on.
And as far as mid-level big cities, Cincinnati does have the infrastructure, the architecture, the business district, the art district. So like if you're shooting exteriors, it can kind of fit to you can make it look like any city.
Sure. Yeah.
We have, the international airport to fly in and out of. We have the
Mhm.
transit system. There's a lot of stuff that we have going for us that we don't have a subway. We have an abandoned subway that never got finished. I don't know.
Oh.
Great for shooting movies.
It's illegal to go down there.
Damn it.
Oh.
I do not recommend going down there if you are, not prepared for the consequences, but it is really fucking sick down there.
I want to see some YouTube. I'm about to go look up after this YouTube because I love exploration of abandoned things, especially like theme parks.
There's a lot of good YouTube video of people who have gone through the abandoned subways. But like it started before the Depression, it never picked up after the Depression and the original Depression in the 1929 Depression.
Not just how I currently feel.
Yeah. And by the time they, tried to start it back up again, we had World War I, World War II. The cost of production was too high. And at that point, the system itself would have needed to be reconfigured for what had become modern subways, and it was cost prohibitive. So now I think they mostly use the tunnels as a conduit for utilities and sewer and water and fiber optics and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, it does have a lot of great architecture. Cincinnati does. Dayton as well. The thing you get with Dayton is there's a lot of abandoned buildings. And if you're into that, which we are, and which
especially the film you're going to be making,
which we're hoping to be able to utilize with the proper permits and and maybe some stolen shots.
Allegedly.
But they're beautiful cities if you can look past some of the grindier kind of things. But for what we need it for, it works. It's exactly what we want. But Cincinnati is a good up and coming area for film production. And we were actually on the short list for Sundance to move here. And it was basically down to Boulder, Colorado and Cincinnati,
which is the least Sundance. I used to live in Fort Collins, Colorado, which is right by there. When I heard they were moving to Boulder, I was like, that's gross. I don't like that.
I think the wealthier side of things preferred Boulder. I mean, we're both marijuana legal, so it would have been good either way. But I think that the wealthier investors in Sundance preferred Boulder. I think that's why it ended up.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Which I'm disappointed in it. But maybe in a few years they'll decide to relocate again. You never know.
Yeah.
We were hopeful that it would bring some more interest to the Cincinnati filmmaking industry, but I think that it will anyway. There's a lot of filmmakers in this area, a lot of actors and a lot of crew that are hoping Cincinnati is shown a spotlight, and I think it's happening. So
I think a lot of people on the coast don't realize the Midwest does have art and culture and stuff like this, and like how you're saying filming, or like me and Damien are both from Omaha, Nebraska, and so Alexander, director Alexander Payne is from Omaha, and most of his movies are shot here, and you can do it. It's just
and it's going outside of Alexander Payne now too, with Adam Raymeyer shooting Snack Shack.
Oh God, I wanted to talk about.
I don't know that one.
If you're from the Midwest, it's going back. So me and Damien did a full episode about it, but when you were talking about sound, how sound can really make or break a movie. There's a scene, you grew up kind of in the Midwest of Indiana, and there's a scene, it's shot during the summer, and it's just these two guys talking in a field. It's kind of a mysterious. And then the sound of cicadas come in.
Oh God.
And no other sound. Just one of the actors says like a really kind of heavy line, and then it's just the cicadas like right at sundown.
Yeah.
In a cornfield in the Midwest. And me and Damien watched it together. I watched it beforehand because I had heard about it, and I was like, you have to watch this movie. I showed it, and we just it hit so great.
Yeah, we have a full review up on our Spotify and YouTube if anybody's interested in that. But I think that's our first full review of a movie because it was that impactful. So
And
Really?
it's shot in Nebraska City,
Yeah.
Nebraska, which is about
Snack
hours
Shack.
south. Yeah,
Okay, I'll check it out.
it's
very good.
fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a couple of recommendations, folks.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things to check out here. Christian, why don't you go ahead and
Yeah, I'll do our last question.
Sure.
close us out?
Yeah, so as someone who like, didn't go to film school, didn't really study it, what advice can you give to people to be like who are on the fence of being like, "Hey, this isn't like, my background, but I'd love to do this." About making that, what made you like do that final jump of being like, "Yes."
So Patrick was writing that script, Savior Come My Way, and he knew that we were really good friends at the time. And he was like, we had actually played in some bands together at that point. And he said, I knew you were a writer and I've got this script. Would you mind looking at it? And I said, no, that's fine. And he was like, just give me some notes, what you think. And it was, I don't know if you know much about script writing, but the general consensus is that 1 page of screenplay equals about 1 minute of airtime. And he had about a 300-page script. not necessarily, but it was huge. And so I helped him pare that down, and we had to rework some plot elements and some characters stuff and things like that. So I eventually became a co-writer on the script.
Nice.
And at that point we were like, dude, we really like working together like this. We should do this more. I like having a writing partner. I don't know how I would do not having somebody to bounce ideas off of. I need somebody to tell me that something's bullshit.
Yep.
Or that's that is implausible or unfeasible or whatever. Like, don't get so precious with that. Like that you can cut that. That doesn't, you don't need to keep that. So I need somebody like that. And he does as well. And so, we've been writing together for more than 10 years, about 15 years now. I would say to somebody who is trying to, figure out if this is their thing, read scripts, read screenplays, understand screenplay format. It's not like reading a novel.
No.
You don't understand, you don't see, like when you read a novel, you hear all of the description, all of the characters' thoughts, whether they're said or not. In a screenplay, you see the action written and you see the dialogue, and that's pretty much it.
Sure.
And so everything else is interpreted by the director and the actor. And so sometimes it's difficult to interpret that as a reader. But if you can see that just by reading it on the script, you might be a writer.
Okay.
But I would say read screenplays, go to IMDb and look at the top 250 lists that they have, and start with, the ones that you are aware of, and try to watch all 250 of those movies. They're rated as the highest movies on IMDb by the, users. And most of them are classics that have stood the test of time for one reason or another. And start understanding film in that way. Take a class from a community college. They're usually, less than $600 for a class. Take a class, take a workshop from somebody online. There's plenty of YouTube videos on workshops. Masterclass is a subscription service that has a lot of great screenwriting and filmmaking courses on it. Figure out if this is what you want to do by investing a little bit of yourself in it without diving all the way in. And if you've put, $500, $600 in it and you go, no, I can't, this isn't me. Okay. But you learned something about yourself for that $500 or $600. And you didn't spend, $50,000 building out a whole production rig or taking, undergrad film school.
Yeah.
So there are, I would say, honestly, YouTube has been really beneficial for me.
Yeah.
I watch a shit ton of YouTube videos
Mm-hmm.
to learn the craft, to learn entrepreneurial skills, because I'm not a natural entrepreneur. I'm one of those guys that's like, hey, if you wouldn't mind,
please give money.
Yeah. And it's like, no, you have to like be a real like shark in a lot of ways. And so there's that aspect of it. Maybe you're not a filmmaker in the sense that you're not a director or a writer, but maybe you're a producer. You're the get shit done kind of person.
Sure.
And you can rally people, and you can get, get people, the cast and crew organized. You can get, help take some of the pressure off of the director. Because on shooting days, the director just needs to focus on what's in the camera. They don't need to focus on managing the cast and crew. And so there's usually a production manager, a producer on set that can do that for them. Maybe you're that person, a lot of people in the film community aren't directors. A lot of people aren't writers. They're producers that help in one aspect or another. To get shit done. And it takes a lot of people to make a movie.
It does.
So maybe filmmaking, one of the things I would say, if you think that you're interested in filmmaking, go be a production assistant on an independent, on an independent
I've heard
film.
that.
I'm a producer and a screenwriter. I'm working on my own feature film, and I went and did a production assistant role with a short film that was shooting in the area with a friend of mine. I said, I'm not a filmmaker when I'm with you guys. I'm a production assistant. Treat me like a production assistant. I want to see your production. I want to see how you handle things. I want to see your cast and crew. I want to take it all in. I'm here to learn. And so it was really eye-opening, and it was a great opportunity to do that. Shout out to Joe Cox from Average Joe Films, who allowed me to come on set and be a production assistant for him. It was a good opportunity for me, and nothing's too low. Just go out there and get your feet wet and see, you're not going to see your name in lights right off the bat, but maybe it's something that from being a production assistant, you realize, you know what, I really like the lighting stuff. Maybe I need to be a grip or a gaffer. I was really into the cinematography stuff. Maybe I should be a camera operator or a sound engineer or a second AD. So you never know. And there are a lot of state schools that offer great intro filmmaking programs. There are a lot of community college that offer good, multimedia entry level programs that you can then transfer to a 4-year degree at some point. You got to get your feet wet somewhere. So everybody's shooting a film somewhere. You just have to find them.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's the most poignant thing to go out on, which is essentially jump in, open-minded, find out what your passion is regarding that. And if you don't have any, it's not for you, and that's okay. You'll go to the next thing.
Absolutely.
So
if you're a creative, if you're a creative person, you'll find something to be creative, because that creative energy will eat you up and try to kill you if you don't.
Absolutely.
100%.
I agree. That's this podcast for me. I've always wanted to do something, and I just never felt a passion once I jumped in. And now with this, it's like if we go 2 weeks without recording, I'm like, I need to get on this microphone.
He gets real texty.
I'm like, dude, pay attention to me, for fuck's sake, dude. But all right, man. Well, we got to get out of here.
Sure.
Michael,
thank you so much.
Was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you
Everybody
so much.
listening, please make sure to keep your eye out on not only EchoEterna. I always want to say EchoEterna for some reason.
EchoEterna.com is our website.
Down in the description.
You can also find us on Instagram at EchoEterna or Speakeasy the Movie. And then I also post on Mike Writes Movies on Instagram.
Great follow, by the way.
Thank you.
That's what I've been tuning into a lot. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, man. I look forward to Speakeasy.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
anytime you have something coming out, we'd love to.
Yeah, have me back
talk
on
about it,
sometime.
so.
We got a
Yeah.
long conversation that we didn't get to finish.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. So damn time restrictions.
I
but-
know. I know.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you so much, and as always, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.